to the Lynn and Scott show and friends.
And friends.
Definitely a serious crowd tonight.
Hey, everybody. This is Tank. Now that his sister's gone, he's on double duty now. So there's Tank.
Well, I was holding my cat up to show everybody, Jonesy, but during the introduction, Jonesy decided he didn't want to be up anymore. The good news is I just got my nipple pierced for free. So
you've been waiting so long to do it, too.
Yeah.
Day's not complete.
How is everybody
As we all
tonight?
see it.
As we all see it is right. Doing fabulous.
Oh, what a motley crew this is. Look at this.
Welcome, everybody. We've got Barry Selby. We've got Scott Two Hips Schilling here. And we got Debbie Bettendorf and the one and only Rex Sikes.
Yep.
Quite the crew.
Yes,
Rex looks like he should be part of Two Hips road crew there.
Yeah, he's one of my roadies.
Here we go.
Debbie's on her way to an NSYNC reunion.
I got dance moves. They're not pretty, but I got them.
Oh my gosh.
It's Grammy fever.
Oh.
All righty then.
All righty.
Welcome to insanity.
Everybody just content to just sit and giggle for an hour. I mean, we can do that. We can just sit and giggle at each other, and
giggle therapy right at its best.
People will tune in and they'll
What
try
are you
to
going to
figure
say,
it out.
Hipster? He's looking up
I
at
just
Scott.
said great therapy just sitting here.
That's right.
That's right.
We're so thankful everybody's here, and we're thankful that Scott picked a good topic here, mindful, and what it is and how does it work.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because mindfulness is one of those words that people throw around a lot. But not many people actually sit and explain what exactly does it mean. And I think, and I'm sure you guys will all agree, and most of the times when it comes up in conversation, everybody just nods their head without knowing what it means. But nobody wants to say, well, what is mindful? You know what I mean? They all just kind of go along with it. Oh, yeah, mindfulness. Yeah, I'm all about that. I don't mind anything. Or they just come up with, they have no idea. And so I think with a panel like this, I think we can every once in a while take a few moments to explain things like this that are common out there, but nobody takes the time to talk about what it means in its most basic form, and maybe some clues on how it works for us so that people can kind of by proxy figure out if it's something that they need to focus on. So again, that's why I brought this up. I'm sure there's many other words and phrases out there that are used to death. And like I said, people just kind of go, they nod their head and they say, yeah, I got it. I know what you mean. And they don't know. Mm-hmm. So I thought we would bring this up. I mean, mindfulness, certainly is important in my life because without me being in my present moment, I can't live with the grace and the gratitude that I need to live with to survive my life today. I guess what I'm saying, because my life is about recovering and being in the moment and being with the people that I love and making sure that what I'm doing from moment to moment and day to day is the right thing for me. I have to be in the present. And that's the main focus of mindfulness, is to be in the present. There's a whole lot more to it, but I figure everybody's going to put their spin on it. Walt, how are you, brother? Yeah, go ahead. Take a sip. No, don't worry about it. We're just doing a show. I'm sorry to bother you.
I am so glad I finally got an opportunity to be here with some of my favorite people on this planet. What's going on, everybody? Good,
hey,
great
love
to see
you.
Beautiful.
And you had a great show. Yep, you had a great show with Scott. I'm a little occupied with him tonight.
That's a cute little puppy dog. Mine's 120 pounds, so he probably be a lot harder to put him on my lap.
Yeah, there you go.
But they think they are.
Oh my gosh, yes, 100%.
I always had Labradors, and they were always on my lap.
That's what I have, a golden Labrador mix. So 120-pound lap dog.
Yeah.
So, Walt, what we're talking about today is mindfulness. And so you're just kicking off right at the beginning. So this is perfect. And hey, Scott, Two Hips Schilling, right in the center square, right where you should be. Perhaps you can kick this off for us with, like I said, let's give some real world explanation about what these terms are that we're throwing around so much.
Wait, let me give him a beatbox to start.
Okay, you're gonna beatbox for us?
We're gonna give the intro. I'm part of his group, so I gotta give him an intro, right? We
Yeah,
Rex
very
and
nice.
we're your posse.
No,
Yeah, there we go.
greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Debbie.
Rex is getting in character now.
Yeah, really. Well, no, I had a great. Well, I thought it was great. Anyway, I was going to share about being in the sales profession and not too many people understanding what mindfulness is, quite frankly, about being present and truly listening and being aware of your surroundings and what you're saying and what you're doing all the time. And I mean, I think it's being absolutely present in where you are today. I mean, that's one of the things about this group and this crew that comes together is I think we get into these discussions on Tuesday nights and everybody's just smack dab right here. They're not thinking about what's going to happen later or what they were doing earlier. They're in this discussion. And I think that that's the greatest thing that we can ever do is actually listen to people and then share from that place of listening, as opposed to being so prepared and so out in advance of everything. So, like I say, I watch sales presentations all day long where I'm watching the person receiving the message, obviously not accepting the message because the person who's delivering it is just not paying attention. And I don't know the official definition, quite frankly. It's too etherical for me. I just think we should all be present and treat people with dignity, honor, and respect, and that would help a lot.
So true.
Love that.
Absolutely. Was there any point in your life where you learned this lesson specifically for yourself, Scott?
Oh, I think there's a lot of times when you're a young plebe trying to make it in the real world and do it, you always are probably overextending yourself a fair amount until you learn that harsh lesson and you get slapped and spanked appropriately. And, all of a sudden you come back. I mean, think about it. If you're way out ahead of the situation and you're thinking way in advance, you're not paying attention. They're not paying attention. It takes something to kind of pull you back into that. And unfortunately, life has a way of giving you those lessons and repeating those lessons until you learn it. If you don't learn it, you're going to continue to hear it. So.
And it's funny you say that, because there's many times miscommunication is because people weren't listening to the whole conversation they were in because they were distracted in something. And people hold grudges for decades. And then they revisit the situation and realize that they had the whole perspective wrong. And being that the show is as we see it, people need to see that if you do feel like you misheard something, and I'm dyslexic, so I hear a lot of things, different, or I have to concentrate or whatever. But if I'm not going to understand something, I'm going to say, well, do you mean this? And put it in a term that I know how to understand. Well, now that I'm learning NLP, I know different, but that's how I would get by before I had the skills that Rex is teaching me. But what I'm saying is it's so easy to say that you took something to heart or took something wrong. And it was mostly because you weren't paying attention and you had other things going on that were outside of that conversation. So,
yeah, I mean, so many people tend to plan their response before the other person has ever stopped long enough to take a breath.
Right.
And that becomes the problem. It's let the information settle for a second and make a observed comment from that. So what you're saying is great there, Lynn.
All right. Who wants to jump in next?
Curious what this conversation will bring.
Yes,
Us
I love
it.
We never know till we're doing it. So Rex, do you want to step in with the understanding and how you help other people to understand the difference there?
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh God, that move.
That was fast, Rex. That was fast.
Where'd it go?
Well, sadly and gladly, mindfulness is a brand. Somebody coined, the term has been applied to Zen and meditation and the approach of awareness. And now everything being called mindfulness. And it really just tracks back to the person who coined, the term for something that's been around for eons. What has been around for eons that is important is that, energy is equally distributed here, there, and everywhere on all time and all space. Time is a human construct. We measure things, but without humans' consciousness to do that, there is nothing. There's really no past when you think about it. And how do I prove that? Well, in your past, you were in your present doing something. Now you're remembering you in your present back then. You weren't in your past. You were, doing it at presently. And the same with the future. If you go into the future, then that will be that present moment in the future. So you're always in the present. You can't escape that. However, you cannot attend to it. And how do you do that? Well, calculate how much time you spend thinking about your past or thinking about the future or thinking about something else instead of being right here where you are now and present with what's going on, whether that's eating some food, enjoying a conversation, making love to someone sitting under a tree, taking a bath, whatever it might be. It's to bring your attention and focus to the here and now and allow that energy, that present energy, which is incredible if you ever get there, to arise and to be what you experience, as opposed to being distracted by these concepts of past and present. And, they say the universe is, how many billions of years old? Well, only to humans. The universe isn't going, I'm so old, I can't expand anymore. It's just doing what it does in the present moment. And then we come along and go, well, it's just, it's not. It's eternally present. It's eternally present. Your existence, you don't, that you that was born however many years ago, isn't that you now. You are here now. And while you can remember it, that's the gift of consciousness. The gift of consciousness is that you can be distracted. That's the beauty of it. And then you can learn how to not be distracted and to be present. So it's really a gift when you think about it, because it's about the ability to discover. And that's what so few people do, is that they discover all of the potential and beautiful blessings that occur right here and now because they're thinking everywhere else but here and now.
Hmm.
Rex, you made a point about the mindfulness becoming like a slogan and brand name, a catchphrase instead of what it actually is. And we've seen this with other words like holistic. Holistic used to have real meaning to it. Then everybody started using it, and all natural and all these different things. It's frustrating, isn't it, that these things get turned into these things and they kind of lose, or they become bastardized in a certain way. And then people run around using them without actually understanding what they're saying too. So that's a little frustrating, right?
Remember, everything's a label. Like Wayne Dyer says, we shouldn't label things because, go ahead, Rex. You were going to say something?
Well,
no.
I guess it's an occupational hazard. Everybody, in business of self-help or meditation or exercise, where tries to differentiate themselves with a brand name, and to the credit of the person who thought of the word mindfulness, I don't know that they would have thought that it would become a generic term like Kleenex, but it has. But it also, when you start searching mindfulness, it leads you pretty much back to the person who coined the term. And that, but the person who coined the term is alive today, but this practice has been going on for thousands of years. However, all that said, credit is that somebody had the foresight to think, maybe people should be paying attention to the here and now and be mindful of the present moment, called it that, and it has spurned other people to become interested in it as a result. So, whether it's not a bad thing that it's a brand, but it can be a very good thing to be reminded that we need to practice mindfulness.
I agree. Just like we should practice kindness.
Excellent.
Right.
Mhm.
And in fact, I have trademarked kindness.
New concept.
So say that again because it gets $1 every single time you say it.
Mindfulness.
Oh, speaking of Walt, you want to chip it, or you want to dive
Walt,
in
do you
now?
want a chip?
I mean, yeah, I've been trying to eat healthy. So
First-
look, I ate that salad earlier. Chip sounds real good right now. you know,
Walt, I
love
want
what
to thank
guys-
you.
Yeah.
You and Stephanie were on our show the other night. You did a wonderful job. Your wife is amazing. You definitely went shopping above your pay grade when you got her. I tell you that. She's
I
fantastic.
did. She's been a huge life blessing.
But you guys were wonderful. Thank you so much for your honesty and everything you did. Thank you.
Thank you guys. So
Go
I
ahead.
love
thanks
my
for having
brother
us on.
Walt.
And by the way, she loved it. Being able to do that and the feedback that she got and just the level of comfortability she didn't realize she would have. She just embraced the fear and went for it anyway.
I love it.
Was huge. So I appreciate you guys having us on, and you guys did amazing jobs with the interview also, because you know the show is only as good as the hosts, in this plural in this instance for you and Mary Kay, and you guys, it was phenomenal. Just easy to do with you guys for sure.
Yay.
Thank you.
You know, I want to mention one thing that you guys just talked about on the words. You're right, because I was thinking mastery is another word that's just thrown around, and people feel like I'm going to teach you how to be a master of your life. And if you ever feel like you're a master of your life, get ready to get humbled, because you're going to learn that you're not, and then you're going to have to grow, because we should be growing to our last breath.
And then you need to read Rex's book.
Yes, yes. You know, when I think of mindfulness, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and they were correlating self-awareness to mindfulness, and their thought process was it's the same thing. And I actually disagree with that. I think self-awareness can transform your life if you really become self-aware, but mindfulness is really about intention to me, and really approaching the day. So for instance, probably about 2 years ago, I started getting up every single morning and being very mindful, intentional about starting my day in gratitude. Really just saying 3 things. It could be anywhere from, what'd you say, Rex? Making love underneath the tree somewhere. I'm not sure I could make that one happen in my house, but it could be as simple as being proud of my wife for going on the show the other night. It could be as simple as my daughter driving back to Northern Arizona University and making it there safe. It doesn't have to be overly profound, but what it does is being mindful about how I start my day and not picking up my phone and looking for the red notification saying somebody liked the post, or looking at the news and then being pissed off right when I'm starting my day. That level of mindfulness and intention allows me to move through my day differently than it would have been otherwise. And
I don't want to interrupt. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you said the very same thing that you just said, but changed the word from mindfulness to awareness,
to me,
how does it change your experience?
I mean, I think to me, it's the same thing on a personal level. I think it's intention, right? All 3 of those words can intercorrelate. But to me, the intention, I guess the awareness is the next level of what you get from that moment of mindfulness or intention of doing something on purpose.
That's interesting.
Well, and you know, there's an example of that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be mindful of this woman real quick and cut in, because mindfulness is, she wants to leave here 20 after. So that's another way of being mindful.
I love
That's
this
right.
so much.
You know what I'm
learned so much
saying?
from you guys. Thank
and
you.
that again could be I'm just being aware of her time.
That's so sweet, but I was really engulfed in it. I have plenty of time right now, but I love everything there is. Starting off
No,
with
just kidding.
2 hits.
That was funny.
I love that.
Oh my
Boot me off. Boot me off.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay, that was good. You got me. Starting with 2 hips, the fact that he's saying mindfulness is, and it started off with being in the moment. You know, starting off with him, and then when Rex elaborated on it and really delved into the meaning, and then what Walt just said, it's just wonderfully put, and it makes you really stop and think. I want to give an example of none of us are perfect human beings, and the way that we're not always in the moment we try to be. But there's one person in particular in my life that you just know that they're going to check out when you're talking to them, that they already know the answer to the question they just asked you.
Your
So
kids?
they're not, they ask you a question and then you're answering the question, but you can see them completely check out. They don't fully listen. And then they remind you that they already know that.
Or they tell you how you feel.
Yes. And so, one thing I want to say is, yes, we all can work on ourselves. And that's why we're all here. We all continue to grow and learn from one another. I probably do a lot more learning than you guys do from me, but I want to say this. While we're thinking of us being mindful for ourselves and being in the moment, it's a good reminder for other people to say, like this person, she would be much more liked by other people because hardly anyone likes her. And it's because she does that same thing to everyone. So it's being mindful of the way of for yourself, but also for others. If you're not self-aware and you don't realize that you're that off-putting, you're not going to get close relationships because people aren't going to want to invest in someone that doesn't pay attention after they ask you a question. So I just think it's interesting. I know that as I've grown, I've recognized that I had a tendency to interrupt. And with me understanding that about myself and recognizing it, now I try to be quiet and fully finish listening to the person speaking. Like I just bumped Wall off.
That's all good.
So it's just very interesting. It's so amazing to me to have these experiences. And if you're brave enough to pay attention and look inside of yourself too, because it's so easy to see what other people are doing that's annoying, but we're not perfect either. So it's just really cool to do. I'm on this journey right now where I catch myself in my day and on a thought pattern, rumination on something that I shouldn't be thinking about again because it's the past, let it go. I need to be in the moment. And I kind of laugh now. I'm like, and I say out loud to myself, Debbie, bring it back. Bring this back. Here we are. And so, yeah, I love it. So that's all I have.
But you see how blessing it is that you were mindful because you've seen it in somebody else, that you could see it in yourself.
Yeah.
That was being mindful of correcting something that you see. So we're always learning from each other.
Yeah.
I love what you said, Debbie.
Thank you.
But Debbie, don't you think too, it's like in those moments where this person 90% of the time, right? I try not to put always on a statement because then in your mind, you're already making the decision of where this conversation is going to go, even though it might not. We all get triggered. It could be from trauma. It could just be because we're a human being and we're having a bad day. And I think that really being mindful, and you said a key word in there, self-aware. Like when you're mindful, when you're looking for opportunities to grow and you get triggered and you tend to go to the reactive side emotionally, take things so personal and get pissed off, and then it throws your day all out of whack and affects everybody you meet from that point moving forward. It's like when you could build this level of self-awareness and then challenge yourself with intention and mindfulness to say, I'm kind of pissed right now, but I'm going to respond with love. And then I'm going to make sure that I check myself and this emotion that I'm feeling of wanting to be reactive and respond with kindness and maybe set some boundaries if I have to afterwards. I think when you can get to that level of awareness around your triggers, and I'm probably 90% good at it. I still get triggered. I still get pissed off. I still say things I shouldn't sometimes. I mean, I'm not perfect by any means, but me at 20 and me at 46, I mean, it is literally night and day.
That's great.
So, Barry, when we're coming to things like mindfulness, do you find in relationships that it tends to become a little because you're the relationship guy, you're the love doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are all talking about getting lucky under a tree somewhere. I mean, I'm talking about real relationships here.
A guy could wish,
That's
the problem. It's only a wish. No,
we're supposed to be present right now. Stop daydreaming, Walt.
Is it easy just to slip into somebody else's stuff? I mean, is it harder to be mindful when you're in those kind of relationships and stuff?
I don't have survey data to give you an exact empirical information, but I would suspect that a large.
You can make it up. We'll believe you. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, make it up.
Just watch Rex's face. That'll tell us all. Go ahead.
I would strongly suspect that the majority of people in relationship have definitely missed the boat on mindfulness with their partner, just to be clear. Because the thing is, when you're in a relationship, one of the things I'm very clear about, especially when we talk about soulmates, which I have a whole rant about, when you're in a relationship with somebody else, they tend to be the wonderful person that gives you the gift of being triggered. That's one of the gifts of being in a relationship, which will generally make you aware of things that aren't in the present, like your history or things you didn't do, like you didn't take out the garbage, or it could be about your past upbringing. So being mindful in a relationship, in a way, is the best cure for reactivity. What was saying? Excuse me, what was saying? Point in the right direction.
Yeah.
So understanding that is kind of a key piece. And one thing I was also going to say earlier that Scott and Lynn were talking about is that in listening, we do as a general population have a bad habit of listening to react or respond. Listening to react or to share our point of view versus listening to then consider and then respond. If we, in every communication, if we took the moment to stop when somebody finished talking or asking us something and consider what they said first and then respond, we change the planet. And the other part I was going to say was also mindfulness. If everybody who was driving a car was mindful at the same time, there'd be no accidents. Literally no accidents, because people will be aware of everything going on. Most accidents are caused by people not being present, aware, mindful. They're somewhere else. So
I think it's a team sport.
There you go. Exactly. The thing about team sports, for example, when basketball teams, because they're a smaller team, are aware of each other, they're mindful, the game flows like magic. But when they're not mindful, the ball gets missed. What happens in any sport, truly, but it doesn't get connected. So mindfulness really does work in team sports too. So just to take that leap. So in relationships, absolutely, the biggest game in town is to be self-aware. When you're self-aware in a relationship, you then become grateful when somebody else gives you something to work on. But also you get to be more aware that you don't, as what we're saying, you become more aware not to throw stuff rather than stuff back in their face. Yeah. I know we're online, but
I'm glad you didn't say the word shit. Okay, good.
Yeah, I try not to. So the thing about relationships is that, as I said, relationships are a great place, as one of my friends, Lisa Nichols, calls it. Oftentimes relationships are gifts wrapped in sandpaper, as in there's friction, stuff to work on. And one of the biggest challenges in a relationship is many people quit before they do the work. So a lot of times relationships end because we haven't, when somebody brings up your stuff, your partner brings up your stuff, and you don't deal with it. The thing is, that stuff is in you anyway. It doesn't matter who the partner is. It's going to come up again. So why not work on it with the person you're with or when you're single again, so you don't carry it to the next relationship? Part of the mindfulness practice is to be self-aware when your stuff comes up. Many people, when they're not mindful, is because they don't want to face their own demons, so to speak. So it's a good practice to have, and it does take work because it's constantly, back to the present. And the key thing is, when it comes back to the present, is don't judge you weren't in the present. Come back to the present. It's a great practice, and it takes time. Thich Nhat Hanh had a whole thing with walking meditation that was a mindfulness practice. You do walking meditation where every step was conscious, in the moment, mindful. That was quite a focus to try doing that. I did it once with him. He did a meditation walk in LA. I couldn't handle it. It was too much for me.
That's incredible. Wow, I love that. And all your scenarios, your analogy of the basketball and all of it. That's a mic drop, Lynn.
Thank you, Raditya. That's how you say her name, Raditya.
Okay.
Raditya.
Yes.
Okay. I love you guys.
Rex gave me the team stuff, so I just jumped on it.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank
you for being here. Love
Yeah.
you.
Have a great night, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Pam says bye too.
Bye.
Bye.
So there goes to show you that how as we get older, we realize there's so many people, including myself, that we don't take time to be mindful of our triggers, our past, or all these different things and how it builds up. And, I've heard Rex say this many times. When things happen and you happen to be there, don't you realize that maybe you're part of the problem? You know, it's being mindful of that.
That's wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, Lynn, because I was just thinking that the biggest part of mindfulness for me is to understand that the circumstances of my life as I sit here today are completely in my control and my fault. You know, part of being present in the moment is being responsible for how I am and what I'm doing. You know, victims live in the past, and people full of anxiety live in the future. I mean, we can go back and forth, and there's all this stuff, and all of that takes me away from the present. And when I'm not in my present, I have no control over what's going on, and I like to avoid that responsibility. I've always enjoyed avoiding the responsibility of saying my life is frigged up, but I did that. What I didn't realize until I reached that point was that the incredible freedom in realizing, you know what, if I did it, I can undo it. If I don't like something today, I could change, but I have to be here. I have to be present. I have to listen to people. I love this thing about not listening, and we're already formulating answers. You know why? You know why I used to formulate answers before somebody finished? It's because I could not stand the fact that I might be caught off guard and look stupid. So I've got to continually hit you with a barrage of bullshit, no matter what you're telling me. And you end up looking foolish anyway when you do that.
And how much nicer is it when you're humble and vulnerable to say, well, you know, can you explain that? Or I don't get that, or I never seen it that way.
Exactly.
I mean, because it's true.
I think it's two things there, Scott. One is that you don't want to look foolish because you haven't responded, but the other is you want to look knowledgeable because you respond quickly.
Yes.
And so it's really positioning in either way, as opposed to just sitting and listening and letting it settle in. And I mean, I find this as a sales trainer, so many sales trainers try to condition sales forces or salespeople to put people into a position so that they now have the next question already ready. You know, they're ready to jump all over it. Whereas I teach people to just ask a simple question and listen, and then form the next question only after you've heard it. And it makes such a difference to even in this conversation, if you hear the brilliance that's been said and the building upon the last thing and how it continues to go, it's pretty phenomenal. This is a very learned group, although we're a bunch of cut up, but you know, the fact is there's some really good stuff that comes out of here because it's maybe triggering the next good piece of information to pile on top. And speaking of piles, there was a horse, and there was
Take notes, Barry. Take notes, Barry.
But bump. Oh, man.
Scott, I was taught a long time ago, good salesmen know their product, great salesmen know their customer.
Exactly.
Listening and knowing who you're talking to, the only way you're ever going to help anybody is by understanding who they are. You can't help people you don't listen to. You can't, you can't be there for people unless you know who they are, and you're never going to know it, Jonesy, if you're in here and if you're not out there.
You made a great point, but one of the things I teach is everybody makes sales way too hard. It's 4 words: identify problem, provide solution. Guess what? That's what it is in addiction recovery. I've got to believe that. It's right. Identify problem, provide solution. It's to help them through their situation. So again, people make conversation and relationships and all this stuff way harder than it ever needs to be.
Rex has something to say. I don't know if you could hear him.
I haven't said anything yet.
Okay. Your lips moved.
He has now.
We were listening so intently, we didn't even know there was words coming.
I was trying to be mindful, okay?
His mouth did move a little bit. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Replay on that one. Thank you.
Very observant, but I hadn't said anything yet. I did open and move my mouth. That's just out of sync. And so, think of it this way. What's the purpose of listening to music?
For the rhythm.
Do you listen to argue with it?
No.
Enjoy it.
Not at all.
Enjoy it.
Well, I mean, we've been conditioned to listen poorly, in our educational systems. We've been told we're wrong. We don't remember stuff. We're supposed to regurgitate things and blah, blah, blah. So we don't listen very well. We listen to try and prove or whatever. But really, the idea of listening is to learn something you did not know. Because if you know it, what the hell do you care? You don't have to keep proving that you know it if you know it, unless of course, you're insecure. So it's the idea of listening is to draw something from someone else that you didn't know. And then if you have a counter opinion, it's one thing to say, yeah, I disagree with that, as opposed to, wow, that's interesting. How did you come to that conclusion? What were the things that you put together that made you think that way? Because maybe I should think that way, as opposed to, well, I disagree because I think it's this way. It's that willingness and openness to understand rather than to simply present information to somebody else. So knowing your customer, getting what's important to them, finding out what their problem is and providing a solution is great, but you don't need to provide a solution to something that isn't their problem. And sadly, too many people start doing that before they find out who the person is or what they need or what they want. This said, because this conversation's kind of gone there in terms of talking, I'll make a couple of statements, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm going to say this way. We all do this, even though I don't believe that. And that is this. Language is very hypnotic, and it's designed to influence and to create understanding and to persuade and do all these different things. There's a couple of things you can do in language. You can generalize, which means you make a rule for all time and place. All redheads are angry. They're hot-tempered. That's a generalization. Of course, you could say, well, I know a redhead who isn't like that at all. But it's a generalization. It's a stereotype. We can distort things. I can say there's a purple giraffe flying around with a monkey on its back, wearing a yellow hat in the sky. And that's the basis of creativity. We can distort. But we can distort positively in creation, or we can distort something that somebody said and go, what? Them's fighting words. And we can delete, which means we leave things out because we can never say everything that there could be said about a topic or listen to everything or present that. It's by nature of, it's the idea of making maps. A map is a representation of what's out there, but it leaves lots out, or it would have to be the same size as what's out there. So, and that's a distortion, and if you go, the best way to get there is I-90, well, that may be a generalization. But here's the thing that we tend to do as people. We tend to speak for other people, like we're all in this together. We all do that. When you think about this, and this is the basis of advertising. When you have that bloaty, crampy, awful feeling, what are they trying to get you to do? They're trying to get
that time of the month.
I remember that. I know that. Sure. So when you say to somebody, you know how it is when you feel this, you're essentially trying to hypnotize them into feeling what you're saying without understanding it's, I feel this way when this happens, or at that time of the month, I feel this particular way. When I have a headache, it's learning to speak for ourselves and be responsible. Now, if you're trying to motivate a crowd, you'll say, hey, doesn't everybody want to make money? Doesn't everyone want to be happier? You want to do that. I want to do that. We all, what it's like when you're feeling really good about it. So there are times and places and purposes for when we speak with intention, knowing what it is that we're trying to accomplish or elicit from another person, as opposed to just installing bad ideas and negative feelings or the things that we want them to walk away with inside of another person. So it's really owning our communication experience. And when I say our, obviously I'm talking a collection, and I can't speak for a collection. I can assume to, obviously. But my point is if we're truly being mindful, if I'm truly being mindful of what I say, that I have the opportunity to take and clean up my communication to make sure that what I'm intending to say is the best example of what I want to say, so that maybe, just possibly, the other person can get it the way I intend it. But that's completely up to them. And if they don't, I shouldn't be at them because they don't understand what I'm saying. I should try and change my communication to be more efficient at communicating so that they can understand it more easily or efficiently or pleasantly or whatever. Because so many of us, we have love relationships and go, you never listen to me. Well, that's a command. You never listen to me. Why would you ever say it to somebody? Never listen to me. You make me mad. Okay, I will.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Codependency.
we have these kind of accusations that we make toward people, and we think we're expressing ourselves. And if you say you make me mad, it's like, when? Well, every time you do that. Well, if you say every time, now you're going to generalization. All time, all space, all places. You know, you're always doing this stuff. So we have to really pay attention to what it is that we're communicating if we want to be better communicators. Or I want to be a better communicator. I need to pay attention to what I'm communicating so that I can deliver the message so that the other person might as easily receive it. And then I get to watch and listen and find out whether they received it. If they got questions or if they have counter arguments, I have the opportunity to try and clarify that for them, as opposed to going, well, you're just stupid. You don't understand anything, do you? Right? So it really, this notion of being mindful about communication is really a ripe area that I explore, and of course I teach. But you know, but if someone is interested in exploring it, I encourage them to do that.
Rex, let's just for a moment, because I want to get to everybody else, but this is something that's not always, it's not a perfected art. It's something we're always in practice of, correct? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I got this down, and this is always something that we work with.
I live in a very bizarre world, because there are people who will say, I'm going to show you the deep, dark inner workings of Jedi secrets of how you command another person's mind to rip the veil apart and install what I want in them so they are at my mercy.
Wow, that's weird.
No, but I'm serious. I mean, all you have to do is look around at advertising out there in the self-help field about what people claim to do and all this kind of stuff, and then go, well, if you buy that, you buy those premises, okay. It's up to you. Here's how I liken influence and persuasion. You can up your batting average, and you get better and better at batting, but you never have a total, right, all hits, all strike. You up your batting average. That's with police interrogation or calibrating, truthfulness from non-truthfulness and things like border patrol. You might get really, really good at something, but you're never 100%. So what you want, you're in the process of, and again, I'm saying you, but I'm in the process of discovering how I get better and better at this stuff so that I can use it more fastly throughout the time. There are going to be times when I'm wrong. So, and I should know that and be willing to admit that instead of making another person wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely. Who wants to kick in from there? We still got about 18 minutes left.
I'll jump in real quick. I love what all you guys are talking about. And, in the Navy human intelligence community that I spent 2 decades in, I feel like we've had a massive migration. I look at my children who look at TikTok, and it's like 60 to 90-second clips of everything. And not only are they watching the video at the same time, they're texting their friend. They've got their homework going while they're watching a YouTube video all at the same time. And so when you're talking about being mindful, they don't even take a second to just watch one thing, much less all. And we all know you can't multitask. As much as we all think that we're great at it at times, me being one of them, I can't do this and be over here texting something and listen to all those golden nuggets Rex just threw out there. What I found in life, I feel like people have forgotten what curiosity looks like when having a conversation with somebody. We're so busy trying to share wisdom. And Scott, you talked about this. We're so fearful of the judgment is really what it is, that we can't sit and be present in the conversation and curious because we want to sound smart or we don't want to look stupid. Like it's either way. And, we joke, my wife, we call her the interrogator or detective all the time in the house. She's naturally super inquisitive and an amazing listener. I, on the other hand, am not. It's not natural for me. And so I have to be super intentional. And Barry, I think you said that. You said listen, consider, and then respond. Takes work. It takes effort. It takes a massive amount of intentionality to not pick up your phone for that dopamine hit while somebody talks for 2 or 3 minutes. So in the intelligence community, and I found this worked in corporate America significantly had record results at both companies that I went to, and I've done some sales training with this. It's really listening to build rapport and commonality first. Even if I knew I was going to talk to somebody and I was trying to get what type of paint they used on a Chinese UAV, that was the ultimate goal. It might take 8 different conversations with this person to get it. Just like in sales, it might take more than that one conversation. But if you're so hell-bent on getting the result, and the result is the sale, the result is your knowledge, you're gifting them this knowledge, or you just want to sound smart and you're not listening with curiosity and asking questions to build relationships and rapport, you're just going to miss out on the magic of life, man. Like whether it's a significant other relationship, a friend relationship, a family relationship, hell, the relationship with you half the time, yourself. You know, and that to me, that's what mindfulness and intentionality and how you really raise your awareness in life in a different way. And I'm just figuring this stuff out somewhat, and I'll continue to grow from that my entire life.
And if I could add to that to say, you know, that's how you know if someone cares or if they're listening. If they're sitting there just, you know, waiting to get their point across, or I'm going to sell them when I hear their business is going bad. Well, you know what? Good news, you know, or whatever. It just, you know, there's so much you can look at a script all you want, but the best things come when it's unscripted. And it's sad when you feel like, oh shit, where am I on this script? And you just miss the boat of being human and being a human person and caring and listening. And, you know, that's why it's a sad thing that I see a lot in network marketing and other things is that people won't check your Facebook or check your Messenger or check something you've put that's going on in your family or whatever. And then they're pitching you without even realizing you just got out of the hospital, your dog died, this, and that. And you're like, okay, you really, you know, that's how connected we are. But I mean, there's just so many signs to know that people are not connected, but and being mindful of that, don't do that back to them, you know, be more mindful to correct that because like Rex said, we all do these things. We all do, you know.
And Lynn, let me ask you a question on that.
Yes.
When somebody listens to you in that way, and I think you really are just exceptional at this, making people feel seen. When somebody asks questions about you and how you're doing and they genuinely mean it, don't you personally feel seen and loved? And then the way that interaction happens totally changes versus somebody literally just called me a couple of days ago and pitched me on something that I've already told them no on. I'm like, did you forget you? I asked them, did you forget you called me? I'm still not interested. If I was, I would have called you.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because a lot of times I really care about what's going on in people's lives and for them to be seen. And I don't worry if they don't see me because I know a lot of times people don't see me and that's okay. That's truly okay because I love to be there for people. It's one of the things that I don't keep score on that per se, but it is nice when, you know, but again, I go see my doctor and I'm always like, how are you? And how's things go? Especially the ones that are going to operate on you, you know, you're like, if they're having a shitty day, you know, we could come back at this, you know, it's one of those things, you know, I really wanted to know how's this conversation going to go? Cause you know, if you got something else on your mind, I don't want to talk about my things in my life to add to it. Like I didn't put it on Facebook when my mom's dog passed away. I told my dear friends and I shared a few things, but you know, it's one of those things that was a privileged thing / didn't put it out there for sympathies from everyone or anything like that. Only to the people that matter to me to know that, you know, I may have not, you know, but again, it's not always about me. I'm always better off because when I was little, I wanted to be seen and I wasn't. And so I know how that feels, but I don't need that recognition anymore. So I'm good with
deserve it.
Oh,
Walt, I want to thank you. The way you expressed all that was really just brilliantly said. And thank you for making it that clear. That was really good. Scott, two hips, man. You know, there's a lot of things going around about, you know, believe it, achieve it, and see the future and do this. And there's a lot of this kind of energy building. Let's move ourselves into the future. And it's almost like they're trying to pull us out of that mindfulness and saying, you know, envision this and it will come. But nobody's talking about, but you got to stay where you are. You got to be where you are to do this. Are those mixed messages that we're getting, or is there a way to marry the two where you're thinking down the road, but you're still being mindful of the present.
Well, I think, we go where our focus is. So we're going to go towards what we're thinking from that side. So we got to have some goals. We got to have, a place where we want to head. But I think we need to be where your right foot is when your right foot is there. Be where your left foot is when your left foot is there. So as you're taking the steps, be truly present in those steps with a desire to get to another place, whatever that might be. I mean, there's just been some really brilliant answers here today about, I love what Rex was saying about everything is about present. In the past, we were in the present at that time, but now it's, and all the stuff back and forth. And it really is true. I think that you just have to make the moves forward with the best intention, with the best. If we would just all lift each other up, again, that's why for me, it comes down to respect, honor, and dignity. We don't have to agree with each other, but we should respect each other. We should honor each other. We should lift each other up. We should do those kinds of things because we're all on this journey together. It just makes sense. And so if we look forward, that's fine looking forward. So we have our path to travel on, but don't run over an old lady in the intersection on the way. It just doesn't make any sense, right? So part of it is, I know where I'm going. I'm driving forward, but I'm not going to hit somebody on the way to do it. It doesn't make any sense. And again, I think we see that so often when I agree with Rex on the interpretation of many of the gurus. I can get you there. Well, how can you get me there? You haven't gotten there yourself. Stop telling people stuff that isn't true. Just be integrous in what you do and what you say, and stop BSing people. Bad strategy, right? Yeah. I mean, just don't do it. If you want to help somebody move forward, that's awesome. Give them the path to walk on, but then give them good, sound things and stepping stones to move on.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's brilliantly. You mentioned something about moving the right foot and the left foot and stuff, and I was reading an article about the guy who wrote the song Hokey Pokey recently passed away.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but they went to put him in the coffin. They put the right foot in, and
I knew you were going with the Hokey Pokey.
The right foot out. It became a chaos after that. It just
Jonesy.
And just
still
a
going
side
on
note.
Today.
Just a side note. Teodora is not on here, but you know what? I call her every day because I love her energy and her spirit, and just to see how she's doing, because I just love her so much. So you are loved, Teodora. So
on a couple of things I'd like to add.
Barry, what else you got to say, my friend?
Well, one thing is, and this is a word of warning to everybody, is mindfulness is humbling. So if you want to play mindfulness and try to think your ego's going to be in charge and you have everything you want, get off the high horse, because it's about horses. Thank you, Scott. Is that mindfulness brings you in the present, and when you're in the present, it's much easier to see your faults. It's much easier to see reality. It's much easier to just notice that everything isn't perfect, because that's the way life is. Yet there is perfection in that. So being in the present is a humbling experience, because when we are really present in that mindfulness, we can see more clearly, and we can actually see the wonder and the magic of life itself. So those people who want to be top of the heap and be the best there is going to be, mindfulness is not actually the route to get there, even though you might end up there if you just simply take one step at a time. So I know it sounds confusing saying it that way, but that's the thing, is mindfulness is really the path to walk, so to speak. I remember I took a seminar many, many years ago. So that's my first one I took back in '84. I took that seminar probably 10 or 11 times and volunteered for it and staffed it probably 70 times over 10 years. I knew the seminar really well by the end of it, but I kept learning every time I was in there, in that room, because I knew in some ways I had to keep like my finger on the pulse, keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming more capable of being present, because it wasn't something automatic. And that's the thing about mindfulness. It is a constant navigation to stay in the moment, because as what we're saying with the kids, like we constantly are like, oh, hang on, let me check that. Oh, let me do this. Or let me think about what I want to say to somebody before I listen to what they're saying in the first place. So the thing about being mindful is you have to be really gentle with yourself, because it's easy to start judging, like, crap, I missed it. It's like, no, be present, be okay with what's the word I'm looking for? The spaciousness of the moment. That's what true mindfulness is. Mindfulness is a gift when you really start playing with it. That's what I love about mindfulness as a spiritual practice, is it really makes life easier because you don't have to keep trying to keep track of everything. Just be present to what's right now, right here. Easy.
Oh, love that. Now I'm going to put him here and we're going to go around one last time. 1 minute.
1 minute each.
What did you get out of today, Walt?
Well, I love when I get to come here and just listen to your guys' wisdom and then provide whatever nuggets I can provide. So, and by the way, how it elevates not only yourself, but the relationships that you have with other people. I want to give just two things to people, one for yourself and one to elevate your relationships, and challenge everybody watching this week. So I heard something a couple days ago. They said, stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. Be mindful about what you're telling yourself every single day, and feed your soul with things that lift you up, and where your mind goes at that point, your energy will flow. And then challenge yourself to ask questions of other people this week. Really sit and be present. Don't look at your phone. We all do it in relationships. Be like, what'd you say, baby? Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then I'm like, what the hell did my wife just say? I don't even know what she said right now, because I wasn't paying attention. Put the distractions aside, ask questions, and really be in curiosity, and watch the reactions of the people you're talking to and how you make them feel seen and loved and heard. And then watch how those relationships truly start to transform in your life. And it will have a direct correlation to your level of happiness too, because ultimately life is about having fruitful relationships with ourselves and with other people. And you want happiness, that's where I would start to focus at.
Thank you, Walt.
Excellent.
Thanks, y'all.
Back again? Okay.
Yes,
Back again.
I would suggest, and kind of follow what Walt said, one of the biggest gifts you can give somebody is to listen to them fully. It's an amazing place to be. One of the gifts I have in my work is I get to do that with my clients, but it wasn't the intention. That's my book. Thank you for showing it. The thing about being present with somebody and being mindful with somebody is that I've seen people when they were basically listened to and heard, it's like the years fell off them. They became more beautiful, more alive, because they felt received. And so, as a reminder of what Walt said, it's such a gift to do that for somebody else. And hey, you never know, somebody might do it for you too.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely.
I love this book right here. That sucks. Now what? Hipster.
Do hips.
Again, just such great input from everybody. But what Walt was saying about curiosity, have childlike wonder. I met with a friend today that I hadn't seen face to face since before the pandemic, and we just ask each other questions, and it was just these questions going back and forth, and we were both laughing and having fun, and we were talking about the pandemic, and we were talking about just really weird stuff, because we were asking each other about how things had transpired for us during that period of time. And at the end, it was like, oh, and yes, would you like to be on my advisory board for this nonprofit? Sure, why not? It just, have childlike wonder and just truly get in tune with the people that you're in front of. It's amazing what happens, and you'll find your path to happiness and all those things just a whole lot better. And make sure you tune in here every Tuesday night.
Well, he's got, Rex always says that stuff, or he also says dog shit or diamonds. You pick or choose. But Mr. Rex.
It's Sikes. Rex Sikes.
Rex Sikes, yes.
You look like James Bond. I mean, you look more like Blofeld, actually. But
So Lynn butchered the picture a little bit, but what the heck?
It's been a very wonderful evening of gems from everyone, and just very beautiful. You've got, Scott who said solve problems, or find out what the problem is and then offer a solution. You got Barry who works in relationships and talks about how to communicate between each other. Scott, with recovery and addiction, and Lynn, what you do in terms of inspiring and helping people, and then Walt, you brought up the point about intention and curiosity, and it's all of it's so good, so amazing. I hope that people listen to this particular program, not that they can't listen to all the other ones or watch the other ones, but over and over and over again, because there's a lot here. And then what you just said about the curiosity and the curiosity of a little child, the Bible does say, unless you become as little children or like little children, you don't enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, if you put all the religious side, say, and just think about what it means to be curious and be like a little child, and to have that exuberance and that ability to be open, and to, little kids, until they're taught to hate, welcome everybody as friends. I mean, they just embrace the world, and they chase butterflies and spiders and scorpions, and they don't know the difference. They don't know that might hurt them and that is nice. Or, they explore, and they do what they do because they're curious and they're fascinated and they're captivated by it. And then, as Walt said, intention. If you bring intention to this, and you say, I'm going to be curious, I'm going to be open, I'm going to be available, I'm going to be like a little child. I have a rule, that one of many Rex's rules is go first. So if you want someone to listen to you, listen to them first. You want somebody to respect you, respect them first. Whatever you put out, you can get back, and they may or may not give it, but at least you're paving the way. By example, you are demonstrating, hey, I'm here for you. I'm completely here for you. I'm devoted to listening and paying attention and understanding, and I'm committed to having rapport, being honest, or whatever. But if you give it first, they're more likely to reciprocate or to return it. If you don't, why should they? So it's you're driven by intentions. So if you intend to make a friend, you can make a friend. So live with intentions and be mindful or aware of what you're doing and the results that you're getting, and then you can adjust as necessary.
And don't forget, be what you want to see it more in the world. Right. So be first and
absolutely
thoughtful.
I've had to actually physically tell myself going into situations, learn something from them. Don't just talk to them, learn something. And every conversation I have when I go in with that intention that I want to learn something, the conversation is that much better, and it's that much deeper, and it's that much more brilliant. And everybody who thinks that they're practicing this stuff really well, ask yourself, how many times a day do I ask somebody, how's your day? And you really don't want to know, because that's part of the problem, is that we're asking questions and we don't want the answer. We want what we want to hear. I want you to say, fine, how was your day? Fine. And then you move on. So just if you're going to ask somebody how their day was, listen to how their day was. And we do this with our loved ones. I'm not talking about strangers in the street. I'm talking about our loved ones. How's your day, honey? Oh, it was good. Good. Because if anything beyond that, I'm not going to listen to. Seriously. We have to put more intention into listening, into being present. And listen, if you want to stop being a victim in your life, step one, be in your present. And you cannot be a victim if you're living in your present. Because when you're living in your present, you realize you're the one in control of every moment. So, Lynn?
Just a great show. Always love you guys showing up. It means the world to us. And I'm so excited for our next shows because they're always good. But right now, being in the present with you guys, that's all that matters, because that's all we ever have is the here and now. We just, So thank you so much. Great
present, but now it's over.
That's right. So go be present with yourselves and be more mindful. Love you guys.
I got to go find that tree they keep finding women under. I got to go find that tree.
You make love in the tree.
Oh, in the tree.
That's even more challenging.
Up to the highest you can go up.
Stay tuned to see what happens with the tree and the whatever else.
If you can do it without falling out, you really have mastered something.
I'm going to go find my wife before I get in trouble. That's what I'm about to go do.
Next week, Jonesy shows up in a cervical collar but a big smile on his face. All right.
Yeah, two hips is back. Watch out, wifey.
Why is that tree smoking?
Well, we know he's found other uses for his walker. So, anyways, I think it's time to go now.
Good night.
Love you guys.
Bye all.
See you guys.
Love you guys.
week.
Bye.
Keeping me safe and sound.